Well, fellas, it's that time to do the fuel lines. I'm like, I don't know, I might be three-quarters of the way done putting this thing together. And so you can see I got some of the fuel lines started. I use Dubro 8th inch. They call it large. Yeah, 8th inch ID right there. Um, I get asked this for 25 years. I use that. Oh, and look at these 50 year 50th year in business, high tech, 961 etch servos. Pretty cool. Um, Still loving those things. They're still incredible. And the 951s, I've used the 951s on the latest plane too, and those are incredible too, and a little bit quicker. Um, but yeah, so on the fuel lines, I went through some changes on this, trying things, and the only thing I always use Viton now. The only thing I use Viton for, however, is the clunk line. So that's the only place I'm using Viton, and then I use it on the smoke lines that go up and around the mufflers. But otherwise, like this is the stock Skywing. There we go. Skywing tank, which I'll use on the Skywings, no problem. They work great. And yeah, I'll take that factory blue line out of there, and I'll put a Viton in there, and I'll put a boba straw on it. Boba straw is just a, what, big ID plastic straw, and that just on the remote chance that a clunk would go, where's my finger, from here and drape over and get stuck, like behind the pickup line for the fill and drain. And that's a 1 in a million shot, but it can happen. I don't know if it's 1 in a million, but 1 in 1,000. I'll put the boba straw on there. There's other ways to, skin that cat or lick that cow, whatever sayings there are. But yeah, I'll change this to Viton, and Viton, you get it on McMaster Car or Granger, and it's like, I want to say it's like $7 a foot, something like that. And I get 1/8 inch ID, 1/4 inch OD on that. And yeah, I only put that on the clunk line. I like having the Dubro Tygon going to the carb line so I can see the fuel, especially when I have a new plane, have a plane I'm mating, plane I haven't flown in a while. So I like it to the carb line. Plus, it's like way cheaper than Viton, but I really do it because I like seeing it. And then there's no reason to have Viton or anything on a vent line. The Dubro Tygon is great for that, and also the fill line from the side of your plane. So for the majority of everything on the plumbing, I'll use the Dubro 1/8 inch Tygon. And then I went through quite a few years of using what they call extra large, which is 5/32 ID Dubro line to do the 150cc and above class. And then I stopped doing that too, and I just use this 1/8 inch on everything. The only time I'll use, and I have it, in inventory, the 5/32 extra large Dubro, is if you happen to get a tank that has like a huge fittings on it, and you're using it for a vent line anyway, that doesn't even matter. I might take a shortcut and use it. Or I seem to remember, yeah, there was a fitting on the ZDZ 195 Champion, which I would never recommend anybody get anything ZDZ at all whatsoever. But yeah, it had a massive nipple on the carburetor, and I used it on that too because it was just so freaking big. And any of the 1/8 inch line, whether it be Viton or Tygon or anything, if you stretch it over that, it could easily tear at some point. Yeah, Viton, by the way, is not indestructible. It can tear. So, yeah, that's a side point. But, yeah, on the 100cc to 200cc and above class of engines, I will use the 1/8 inch on everything for the carb line. And yeah, for the car vent and fill, I'll use Dubro Tygon, and only for the pickup will I use a little bit of Viton. So $7, 1 foot, and yeah, get a good shot of those. Those are pretty cool looking. Yeah, and I got 961s again because I just really like them. But I really love the 951s too. Don't get me wrong, I'm all about the 951s too. But that's what I got going on here. And yeah, this plane, I got my Down on the Deck stickers because I got Down on the Deck website back as my domain that I own. Bought it for like 50 years now, so it'll be my domain for 50 years. And yeah, and this plane's getting pretty close. Like all the servos are done on this plane. So all the aileron servos are done, extensions, protective sheaths, everything's all done. Elevator's all done, and they're all set, These are set to, I'm back to like 42 degrees again. Yeah, I've done the math on this and the testing. All these elite guys that said, 37, 38 is going to give you a faster roll rate. I'm here to tell you, boys, that is not true. That is a elite boy urban legend wives' tale. Are they wives? Are all those elite boys wives? Because yeah, you can actually go, if you do the math, and you could check your math with an engineer, an aeronautics engineer. You're gonna find that the braking that they talk about, when the aileron is too far deflected, that starts happening at like 70 degrees, so it doesn't enter the realm of what we're doing. And there's no question that when I turn my ailerons down to 37, 38 degrees, I roll slower than I do at 42. And at 42, I roll slower than I do at 45. If you don't have the holding power, if your servos don't have the holding power that they need to have, then yeah, you're going to blow back and slow down. Now you could ask yourself too, why does Jay Stucia and a lot of guys look so much faster rolling than I do? And that's pretty easy. You can get glimpses of it in some of my videos. For me, when I get axial, which is hard to do, when I get super axial, I start rolling like a banshee. I just start rolling like a Tasmanian devil. But if I'm not super axial, it kind of wallers, and it's not as quick. So, but I am full throttle, and I'm rolling pretty fast in my roll rate. But yeah, I don't look as fast as some of the elite boys some of the time, but not all elite boys all the time. It's just like a Barnum Bailey saying. But when I'm at axial, when I can actually lock into a real axial roll, and I'm going at 42 degrees on the aileron deflection, then I start rolling like faster than you can see, which is really cool. But yeah, I have to be axial, perfectly axial, and that it's kind of hard for me to lock into. I always seem to have just at least a tiny bit of waller that's keeping me from having that blindingly fast roll rate. But if I drop down to 38, I roll slower and I get frustrated, that my timing's harder to get and it doesn't look how I want. I don't want it to look slower. I want the roll rate to look as fast as possible. So, yeah, that's a story, man. That 38 degrees, that's a story. There are some advantages to, thinking about 38 degrees. It may be all you need. It may be more than you need. And if you're doing that and still having at least 100 endpoints on your radio, then you're getting max mechanical advantage. So that's a big plus, for that. And you don't need, over that if you're not doing low and slow. I really like way over 38 degrees. I've always run 44, or more for hairier rolls, and torque rolls, reversing torque rolls. There's just a lot of times when it's super nice. So I've been trying to find the compromise and find the ideal spot. And I did go for 38 for a long time, and even went down to 36. Different things, trying different things. But yeah, I'm pretty much back to 42. So that's a big story. And then so the elevators are set. I couldn't get more than 55 degrees without some binding on these. My magic numbers the last 3 years, so it's been 57 degrees up and down on the elevators, but I could only get 55 on this without. I would have to try to whittle away with an X-Acto, like on the hinges and different things, to get 57. So I was good with that. And you never know, it's how long the tail moment is, how long the nose moment is, how big the elevators are in relationship to everything else. You know, those degrees, I'm not going to tell you plane per plane exactly how it's going to respond. And yeah, that's interesting too. You know, I had to go to 1 3/4 arms to get. I didn't have to, but I went to the 1 3/4 hole on the elevators on this particular plane. This is the Skywing SX, their newest version, their newest model, I mean. And I had to go, I keep saying had to. I went with the 1 3/4 hole instead of the 2 on the elevators because, I got past bevel to bevel on the 2. So it depends on the height of the control horn, you know, as you guys know. So if the control horn's short, you're going to, it's not going to take much in terms of travel on the servos for you to bang bevel to bevel. If the control horn's long, then, it's going to take a lot more. But I guess these are short enough for whatever that, 2 was too far. And even at 100 endpoints, about 3/4 stick, I was already banging bevel to bevel. So kind of surprising. Usually the elevators are set up where you're going to need the 2-inch arms, but here you're 1 3/4. And I could almost get by with 1.5. I think I could have. It's just getting like to where things are kind of getting into some very straight line leverage, that I kind of don't love. So that was kind of interesting about it too. But I think you could see on the rudder there, I am at the full 2 inches on the rudder servo. But I have a ton of travel on that. The way that they did the bevels on that, it's really good travel. And I don't even know exactly what it is. I think it was 55, but it's real good deflection. But all that's done. Throttle's done. I got 100 on the throttle. But like I said, on the FrSky, that's more like getting like 115 on a Futaba. And but everything's set up that way. I have to mount all this stuff, which actually I've always thought this was the easy, fun part. Kind of, I don't know if that's the right way, but it's the most enjoyable part to me is just at the end, sitting there and, cleaning up my wires and the receiver and the battery packs and the tanks and stuff, and the IBAC, just making that all cleaned up, ready to fly. Like I kind of like there because it's like electrical panel. I've always liked that in construction electrical work because you're standing in one place just doing a project, and that works for me. I'm kind of stationary. I call myself like static agility. Like think about that for a while. So I'm getting pretty close to down to that. I still have to mount my mufflers, which I never do till I cut my cowl. So I got to cut my cowl. I think I showed you another video. They give you that plastic dummy cowl right there to whack on first to make sure you're right where you need to be, and then you can cut the actual cowl, which I think is over there. Yeah. And so I after the last time using the dummy cowl, I don't even think I would use it. Like if I was doing, like if this was a custom model for some display, if this was a hanger queen, which I never have anymore, I would consider using the dummy cowl, but why cut things twice? Even though it's Lexan and it doesn't make fiberglass dust, I could just cut this once with the fiberglass and be done. I don't even care if they're a little big or a little wobbly. It's fine. So yeah, I still have to cut the cowl, and at that point I'll mount the mufflers, and yeah, I just have to tidy up the inside, put the tanks in and stuff. So not too much. I guess I'm 3/4 of the way done, with everything, but pretty cool. What else can I tell you that I didn't tell you already? Spark plugs. Yeah, I don't know. That's kind of everything. And yeah, I guess this was about these. And yeah, I got this. Is that the right way? Yeah, I got this from my grandson, and I thought, yeah, I'm gonna play with it first. Oh, let's see. I haven't even done any of this other stuff. How does this work? Okay, let's try this. Let's try this out. Let's do this. Give me a second. Okay, now we're in the better light. What, does this actually have the power to do this? Oh yeah, oh yeah. High tech, to the moon. Nice. Okay, pretty cool. Check this out. Let's see. I got it. Okay, so let's say I'm pulling forward. I want you out of the way. So they give you the beep, and then, you know, then we turn the motor off, so then we got to start it back up. Nice, there we're going. I don't know what this button is. Something bad might happen. Okay, nothing bad happened. Last that's a picture of a cloud. I'm not sure what that. Oh, it's steam. This has a little steamer. If you put some water in the back and you push this button, it'll shoot steam out the back. All this stuff for $30. You know, it's pretty much insanity that you get all this. So let's see. Let's mute that. And then I don't know what that button is, but yeah, that's all pretty cool. Pretty amazing stuff for $30. Oh, that almost went off the edge. So yeah, 16 minutes, 20 seconds about Dubro Tygon. All right, out.